TDC meeting. I'd like to take just a moment, please, and turn the floor over to our Vice Chairman, Tom Hermanson, before we get started. Tom.
I'm sure many of you have heard, but unfortunately this past Saturday, we lost a great friend and a longtime member of the tourism industry. Samir Patel unfortunately passed away while traveling abroad, and came as shocking news to all of us. He only turned 40 years old just January, and beyond being a great friend, he was instrumental in moving the ball forward within tourism, both in his leadership at AHOA in Tallahassee, lobby days, serving here on this committee and subcommittees for many years. And it's a big loss, and I want to acknowledge that at this meeting and ask everybody for a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll miss him.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Could we have a roll call vote? Roll call, please, Candace, if you don't mind.
Commissioner?
I'm here.
Tom?
Here?
Julie?
Here.
Alex?
Here.
Mayor Medina?
Present.
Wayne?
Here.
Keith?
Here.
Andrea?
Here.
Okay. Do we have any board members that have any conflicts to particularly disclose today before we get started? Okay, we do not. So we're going to go right into, oh, there you go. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? I didn't see that on the agenda, I'm sorry. From the March 27th meeting, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you so much. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. I apologize, Peter. That's all right. That's right there in front of me. Hello. All right, we've got a great opportunity today to listen to our dear friend from the city of Cocoa, and they have been working for many years to bring this day to fruition, and here we are. So exciting times, and I think at this particular point in time, so that they can show you what it is that we're trying to do in Brevard County, I could turn the floor over to Stockton Witten, the city manager, or who's going to handle this, Stockton? All right, Mayor Blake, how are you? Come on up, buddy.
Mr. Chairman. Greetings, my fellow Brevardians and TDC members. We're excited to be here today. I would like to say to you, all roads lead through Cocoa. Airplanes, automobiles, and now trains. I would like to share with you some of the various individuals that will be participating in conjunction with myself. From the city of Cocoa, Mrs. Samantha Singer. She's the Director of Communications and Economic Development. Our illustrious industrial city manager, Stockton Witten. From the Space Coast Transportation and Planning Organization, Mrs. Gillette, our Executive Director. Also, Mrs. Carter, our Assistant Director. Also, we would like to acknowledge Steve Noto. He's associated with RVI. Also, he's a contract planner. On behalf of the great city of Cocoa, we say thank you for opening up your circle to include our city. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And next will be Mrs. Singer. Can we bring on with a round of applause, please, the school teacher coming out.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us here today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the station and happy to answer any questions that you all may have. So the Cocoa Station is a transformative project for the Space Coast. It is centrally located along the Orlando-Miami route with easy access to everything the Space Coast offers, including Port Canaveral, major international airports, major highways, and more. Cocoa also serves as a gateway to the many attractions in our area. And we're also going to talk today about how there's a prime opportunity for development and growth surrounding the station, including the increase in tax base, not only for the city of Cocoa, but for the county through property taxes and tourism taxes. So this is a public-private partnership. The station will be situated on a portion of over 90 acres of land that is owned by either Brightline or the city of Cocoa, with the parking area remaining publicly owned by the city of Cocoa. You can kind of see on the map here, the yellow are Brightline properties and the green is the property that is owned by the city of Cocoa. With easy access to Port Canaveral, Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, Brevard Zoo, Melbourne International Airport, we are centrally located with easy access to all of these major destinations. There are also many destinations along the route from Orlando to Miami. You have cruise terminals, casinos, sports arenas, theme parks, national parks, and more. Getting the Cocoa Station built will keep Brevard's prime destinations, such as the Brevard Zoo, soon-to-be aquarium, Cocoa Beach, Port Canaveral, Kennedy Space Center, connected and competitive along this Brightline route. The station design and layout is anticipated to be similar to the Boca Raton station, and you can see that in the images on the screen. So it will be about 7,500 to 9,000 square feet, including surface parking. And there will be additional infrastructure that will be needed just west of the station with double tracking to the west. So with over 90 acres available for development, the city of Cocoa envisions a station that is part of an urban mixed-use destination that will not just be a stop, but a place where people will want to go. It's going to be a transportation hub, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. We'll see a surge in both residential and commercial development, including restaurants, hotels. There will be a growing market demand that will create a vibrant community with proximity to jobs and access to public services, spaces, and activity. Rail stations have been shown to create jobs, increase property values, and strengthen economies. You'll see in your packets, according to the Southeast Corridor Commission, high-performance rail in the Southeast will have over 9 million rail trips per year by 2055. We'll have over $35 billion in increased production and spending, a $3.3 billion increase in property values around rail stations, and will create 95,000 jobs during construction and 45,000 new jobs around the rail stations. We talked earlier about the multimodal transportation hub. The station will serve guests and provide an opportunity to visit the Space Coast. It will be a hub for tours, cruise ships, hotel transit, and ride-share opportunities. So information we took from the Space Coast Office of Tourism shows that we have great data on our current visitors, which supports the significance of a rail station and what that could mean for tourism in our area. A number of our visitors are residents of Florida, take cruises, and like to visit our beaches. So delving a little bit deeper, you can see that a lot of our visitors are from our surrounding counties, Orange County, Osceola County, Seminole, Volusia, St. Lucie, all of which will make it easier for them to come into our area. Research also shows the top reasons that people visit our area, such as beaches, rocket launches, cruises, nature, leisure activities, all accessible from Cocoa's Gateway Intermodal Station. The top visited attractions in our area are Port Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, and Brevard Zoo, all easily accessible from the centrally located station in the city of Cocoa. So this is HDR did an analysis on data and came up with our catchment opportunity. And so what that means, our catchment area is the area likely to utilize the train service, and that is within a 45-minute drive of each of the stations. So data shows there is a potential for 29 million trips, annual trips, made for social, recreational, and work purposes to and from the Cocoa catchment area. There is opportunity to convert these into existing trips to overnight stays. In a conservative model, it is estimated that the station could generate an additional 78,000 room nights each year, up to 160,000 in an aggressive model. Brightline is offering a premium service and is capturing higher earning riders who are more inclined to spend money at more expensive hotels and restaurants. Building the Cocoa station positions Brevard County to capture those markets. 1.6 million people rode the Brightline train last year. Their 2024 goal is 4 million riders. A Cocoa station offers a convenient stop for any of these millions of travelers going between South Florida and Orlando and eventually to Tampa. The Florida Department of Transportation recently completed a passenger rail study in 2023. Several potential rail alignments were looked at for feasibility. This one, which includes the Cocoa station, emerged as the preferred option. There is opportunity for nearly $3 billion of economic impact if 16 trains are run a day, which Brightline is currently doing. Brightline expects to employ at least 20 full-time employees at the Cocoa station, which would be direct hires from Brightline and cover all job functions necessary to operate the station. So $6 billion has already been invested in the Brightline system network by Brightline, which enables the addition of this Cocoa station. The city of Cocoa has earmarked $5 million towards the project. The Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization is utilizing their future federal funding allocations of $15.5 million. And then the city will collaborate with the TPO and Brightline to secure additional federal funding towards this transformative transportation project. So today's ask is for approval of $5 million in available tourist development tax funding to support the city of Cocoa's efforts to make the multimodal station a reality. And I included just some testimonials from you have one from the mayor of city of Fort Lauderdale, just showing that, again, they're gravitating to their downtown because of the station, and it's making Fort Lauderdale a better place for our residents and visitors alike. So these are just some of the testimonials that have where Brightline stations currently are, and what impact it is making in those communities. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Like I said, like the mayor said, we have a team here that will be happy to answer questions that you may have. And thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Samantha, or do we want to wait till the rest of the presentation's done and ask them all at once? Okay, Samantha, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, who's up there, Mayor?
Mr. City Manager, sir.
That handsome fellow right there?
Yeah, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Mr.
All right.
Chairman, the rest of us are just here for questions. That was the presentation, and so
Okay.
we'll try to tackle any questions that you all may have.
Does anybody have any questions for Stockton?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, Andrea, please. Stockton? Andrea's got a question for you, sir.
So what is the 5 million going to be used for? Are you building infrastructure? Are you buying land, more
Yeah,
land?
so the 5 million is, it would be the match for federal grants, which would be for design and construction of the station. So 5 million from the city, and the 5 million, potential 5 million from tourist development tax could be utilized as a 20% match for any federal dollars. Again, that's for design and construction. And we alluded to a little bit that the parking would be publicly owned, and so we've had discussions with Brightline, and I think there's an agreement that Brightline will transfer approximately 5.3 acres to the city of Cocoa for their parking needs. That's about 500 surface spots. And so we would ultimately do that as a land lease back to Brightline for the parking requirements of the project.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Mayor?
I have a motion. I'd like to move this item. I also would like to say, as part of the motion, that staff and the county attorney's office look at the best way to find those finances for this project. I also sit on the Space Coast TPO, and they also passed measure to support this. I think this is what putting beds in our community is all about and creating that type of hub. So there's my motion.
Mr. Mayor, if you would please just wait before we do the motion until we get the rest of the things on the table, I would very much appreciate it. I think there's a couple of things that we need to get out because this is going to have to ultimately go before the Brevard County Commission.
Yes, sir. My motion still stands, only because those questions, the presentation, I was expecting Juliet or Ms. Gillette to actually be part of the presentation, but Mr. Stockton said that that was the presentation. So that my motion still stands as it is right now.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Let's, anybody else have any questions prior to the time that we accept the motion? Mr. Hermanson.
Can I be frank, honest with you, Stockton?
Yeah, I think you're going to be Tom.
Yes, always. So, I don't know if you want to answer why we're just getting this now,
Okay.
this information. You know, I'll just state for the record, we've got a process, you know, as the county wants us to. As you know, we hear things, we judge them on the merits, we have policies in place. We grade things. This is a capital funding request, of which there are many potential applicants during the year. That process opens in May, publicly available, and, you know, I'll be on the record as saying that I take issue with the fact that although we've been hearing about this in the press, we're handed this information and then asked to vote on a $5 million grant for a public-private enterprise with no opportunity to read it and really develop questions. Having said that, you know, supporting Brightline is something that I've always done, been on the record from the early days. We need to generally support private entities providing a public good, and public transportation is a public good. So generally supportive of it. But this is a $5 million request with, you know, a nice presentation with no opportunity to do due diligence. With respect to that, I wouldn't be able to develop the questions here on the spot that I otherwise would. One of them that has occurred to me is I look at your funding stack here and I don't see Brightline's contribution. It is a large privately held enterprise with many resources, and within the funding stack, why are they not contributing themselves?
Yeah, and let me first apologize for being late in presenting you with the information. We're actually working with a number of partners, and so it's very fluid. It's really a simple ask. The station cost is projected at between 60 and 75. And so the ask really is for those dollars to assist in either design and or construction. Brightline has already purchased the land. What we had on the slide there, that's approximately $13 million in land purchases. And again, as they are fluid discussions, they haven't actually come to a final decision with regards to are there additional dollars that they're going to put into the pot. I imagine that somehow we're going to have to get from the 15 to the 20 million that we're at now, potentially the 25 to the 75, and that's not all going to be made up by the federal dollars there. And so I imagine Brightline will have to come to the table with regards to their funding requirements. Again, apologies for getting it to you late. Again, this thing moves every day. Tomorrow we're having meetings with Brightline and the port to talk about the project, and so every day we're talking about this, things are moving and changing, and so again, we would have liked to have gotten it to you as early as possible. But again, just a very simple request there. It's a $60 to $75 million project. We're not asking for, you mentioned earlier that we were asking for capital dollars. We're asking for a tourist development tax. And as Mayor Medina said, the details of where it comes from can be figured out by staff there. And so not asking to interfere with any of the marketing allocations. I know that's very important to you. And again, we think we have the public facility aspect of it addressed by simply having a transfer of 5 acres from Brightline to the city of Cocoa.
Yeah, thank you for that. And as you know, having run the county so well for many years, those tax dollars are allocated into their specific buckets. And we know that there's some reserves in excess of 5 million currently in the capital facilities, 141, 142, I don't forget the funds. This would effectively clean that account out, for better or for worse. And that would require reallocation by the county and a rewrite of the ordinance to take it out of out of any other funds, which I'm loath to propose or support on this committee. I'm not going to belabor it. I think the train is going to be transformative, is the word you want to use in this committee and in front of the commission to get funding for private enterprise. It's a great project. I think it'll have a meaningful and tremendous economic impact, not just on Cocoa, but in Brevard County as a whole over the long term. It's obviously at the will of the Board of County Commissioners. The funds are generally there, barring, although nobody else has been able to apply since we're skipping our process. So I'm generally for it, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else? Did you have a question? I think Julie had her hand up first, and then you, Keith.
Thank you. Peter, this question is for you. I'm just curious, is the projects that we've already approved, will this funding taken out of that fund, as Tom specified, impact those projects?
Any project that's previously been approved in prior years, those funds are already allocated for those projects and can't be touched. So this would have to come from uncommitted capital funds. So that's probably where it would come from in that bucket. But it's the same bucket of money, but any previous, aquarium, U.S. law enforcement, Veterans Memorial, all of those projects, those funds are already sort of bucketed and allocated for those previous grants, and frankly, there are contracts in place that hold those funds in place for them.
Okay, so I just get a little nervous when I hear just take TDT money and make it work. So I just want to know we have a clear direction of where that money is coming from and which fund is coming from, and making sure we have the funds there. Like, simple.
There's currently about $6.5 million in the capital fund that Tom was alluding to. It's a fund that sits within, the 10 funds that we manage, and those are unencumbered at this point. Right now, there's a request on the table from the veterans. If you remember, the Veterans Memorial Amphitheater came and asked for funds. That doesn't include that. That's
Okay.
being held to see where that goes if it does come to the board. And so right now, there's about 6.5 million unencumbered, so that we would have the 5 million from that bucket, yes.
And that would be in the motion or the recommendation that it would be coming from that fund?
Well, we really haven't accepted a motion yet, so.
No, I just want to make sure that that's, okay. We have to clarify that then. when we get to
I
that
thi-
point.
I think I have some language to do that, but I do believe that Julie, and great questions. We need to have some more questions from the other people. Do you had something else to add? You're
No,
welcome
thank
to.
you, sir.
Thank you so much. Keith?
So I'm going to flip it around from Tom. I'm going to start by saying what I like, and then ask you the tough question. So, on a very personal level, we just spoke a minute ago, on a personal level, I'm thrilled that this station's potentially coming. I flew in this morning from New York. I'd love to take the train from Terminal C here. It'd be a lot easier. We have friends in Aventura. I hate the traffic as you get close to Miami. I could see getting that station going there and just making my quality of life better. The numbers I didn't see here pulled out specifically, and maybe they're there, and I think they're critical for this group because we are the TDC, is the tourism numbers. So maybe it's in here and we didn't pull it out, but I think it's important. It goes back to what Tom says. What specific tourism numbers? And I think that's something the county commission would ask. So how many tourists would come in on this system from Miami, from South, for what things? I suspect you have those, but I think that's the critical number because we're looking at not just, if I'm taking the train down to Aventura, that's great, but that's helping their tourism, and I'm going to do that. I'm looking at these other numbers. So I don't know if you have those numbers available. I think those are critical numbers to make the decision, which is the actual tourism, heads coming into Brevard County for tourism.
Yeah, and-
If you don't have them, I recommend you might want to get them.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I actually think we do have them, and staff will correct me if I'm wrong there, but we had a slide on there that began to talk a little bit about them, and let me just tell you what you have in front of you there. You have the intermodal feasibility study data, and I think some of the numbers are in there. Most of what you reference is in there, and again, back to Mr. Hermanson's point there, I know we just gave this to you, but you'll find tourism numbers in there. Talked a little bit about the catchment numbers there, and that relates to bed nights. And so you do have some projection of tourism numbers in what we gave you here. So what we gave you was the PowerPoint presentation, we gave you the study, and we said HDR without saying who HDR is. HDR is a planning consultant on a contract with the TPO, and they've been doing work for the last 8-9 months with regards to the station. And so, again, a lot of that information is in here. Apologize for not detailing that out, but it's in your packet. And then the other document that we gave you is just sort of a fuller readout on the PowerPoint presentation there. And so be happy to answer those questions with regards to economic impact, tourism impact, in between now and hopefully presenting the item to the county commission.
Okay, other questions? Can I turn this over to you for a minute, Tom, please, the chair, if you don't mind? Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we have a sunshine law in effect, so we can't talk to each other. Damn it. That's very upsetting to me because all of these things that you're talking about, we could have gotten to pretty easily. The city of Cocoa has been working on this for years. I have personally been involved in a lot of the meetings myself. The mayor, the city manager, the whole city of Cocoa is now ready to move forward and make Brevard County primetime. I mean, this is the most exciting thing that's happened to Brevard County ever, in my opinion. 50 years I've lived here, and I've never seen an opportunity like that. My dear friend, Mr. Hermanson, said that he wondered why it wasn't going through the proper process, and I think that's a good question, but here's the answer. We don't have time. First of all, Brightline doesn't offer a station to everybody. This is the biggest honor a city could ever have or a county could ever have. And if we waste that away, I will tell you later on, you're going to be kicking yourself right down the road. Are you kidding me? That station in Cocoa, SpaceX, launches, aquariums, zoos, Cocoa Village. It could go on and on and on and on and on for the reasons why we want to do this and we want to do it right now. Now, That doesn't, if we, and let me tell you the biggest reason why we're doing it today. Because they have to put in a grant by May 28th to the federal government. Now, do we want to waste any more time in regards to this? I don't think so. I think that I've seen come out of the TDC a lot more money going to things that are nowhere near being the importance of this project today.
Amen.
So, I mean, I can tell you that we're going to get to the bottom of all these things, and we may not be able to raise the money. And if we sit here today and to ignore this request from the city of Cocoa, who's worked their butts off for years to get it, shame on us. Shame on us. So, Mayor, I appreciate your comments, and your motion was great. But if you would please just let me give a motion that would be able to do some of the same things that you want to do and protect this TDC, I would appreciate it.
Aye, sir. I withdraw my motion, and I want to receive your motion.
Thank you. This is a sensitive day. We had Samir pass away. We have high emotions running, and we're at the crux of the best thing that happened in Brevard County. Now, I have worked long and hard with our county attorney and Alex and people like that, that advise that this project is eligible to receive the TDC funds, either through the Capital Facilities Grant for tourist-related public facilities or through the marketing grant for services that have attraction of tourists as a primary purpose. Ultimately, the money will come from the same place, uncommitted dollars in the Capital Facilities Fund. There are advantages to either option, and there's no need for us to look into one or the other at this particular stage. We don't know whether it's going to come out of capital funds or whether it's going to come out of marketing. So, in order to keep both options open for the board, I move that we take the following actions. That we as a commission at the TDC expense in an independent professional analysis that demonstrates the impact of the infrastructural project of the tourist-related business in the county. That's exactly what Tom was asking for. That's exactly what most of you are asking for. Thus, we recommend that the Board of County Commission approve a $5 million capital facilities grant for the infrastructure project. If the study demonstrates a positive impact on tourism and all the statutory requirements that are satisfied to protect us and to protect our capital facilities fund, in the alternative, that we recommend that the Board of County Commission approve a $5 million marketing grant in support of the project, which shall be funded by transferring unencumbered revenue from the Capital Facilities Fund into the marketing fund. Now, why are we doing that?
Well, I'll
Pretty simple.
second it.
Yep, okay,
That motion is seconded.
thank you very much. Let me just share with you why we're doing that. I don't think there's anybody in this room that doesn't want that train station. And I don't think that there's anybody in this room that's not curious about how all these things are going to happen. And I'm a spiritual person, and I'm just going to ask you to trust God in this one. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. We walk out of this room today, and we don't help these people get this station here, and that station goes away, which is possible. Some other city may come up and say, hey, we got $50, $60 million right now, take it and run. We got a big problem. And we will be kicking ourselves to the day that we die. Because I'll tell you what, when that station, when the trains start going to Tampa, and we start missing out on the opportunity to be prime time, then we're making a major mistake. So I love each and every one of you and respect each and every one of you, and I think that your comments are good. But today's the day that we need to make a decision to have to trust what we're doing, trust our attorneys with the drafting of this, and understand that what we've done is a lot better on this than a lot of other projects that we did for TDC, that we gave them $5 million, we gave them $10 million, we gave them $8 million, and they're not going to be close to bringing the heads to beds that this project will be. So I am begging you from the bottom of my heart to, in fact, take your position today and allow us to move forward with a grant. Let us get the study done and move forward. So thank you. I'm sorry I took so long, but I'm obviously very passionate about this. And we've all worked too hard. So,
Commissioner,
Mr.
can I,
Hermanson,
can I
yes?
ask a question
Yes,
before we
ma'am.
move forward? I don't think anybody, like you said, doesn't agree that we approve or want this station. Like, I think everybody here, since the beginning, we all heard about Bright Lane. I'm just curious about the funding, and you were about to answer the question. If you could just go back to why do we have to move it from capital to marketing? I'm just curious about that. Is it operational,
Okay, well, I
procedural?
can tell you exactly why.
Okay,
I may not have the votes at the county commission if we, from the capital situation. If I bring this to the county commission and it goes to the capital fund and we take the $5 million out of the capital fund, then I need a supermajority vote. 4 votes out of 5. I don't know if you've seen that county commission. We've got a very, very conservative county commission, and I might be able to give the most passionate plea in the world, but I don't know that I'll get to 4 votes, the capital management position. But what I can do, which has been worded by Morris, and Alex, you looked at this too, haven't you? Yes, sir. Is that if we need to, we can take it from capital and put it to marketing. And I don't need 4 votes, I need 3.
thank you very much, Commissioner. I appreciate that.
It's called the Driftwood Runabout.
I think we should call it a method. Like,
We should call it
name it,
the Driftwood Method.
brand it.
Simple accounting,
We've-
transfers.
No.
It was named
It was,
a few years ago.
okay, thanks.
You want to continue on with the chair, Tom?
No, sir.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Okay.
I'm sharing. You're sharing because you're making the motion.
All right.
He-
Yes, sir, go ahead.
He made the motion,
He made the motion.
and I seconded it.
And I will say, and we have a motion and a second, I will say I have real consternation about the possibility that there's a 3-to-2 vote to take funds out of marketing, and that the second portion of your motion does not come to pass. That you don't then, a rewrite of the ordinance, based on my understanding, takes also a supermajority. Last time we went around and did that, I think, was 2010, after we'd paid off the Vieira Stadium bonds. So if you don't have 4 votes, the commission doesn't vote 4-0 to remove it from capital to marketing, then you're taking it out of marketing, which is should be a real problem for everybody involved in tourism. How would you address that in the motion?
It's been addressed in the motion.
Oh.
This has been approved by Morris Richardson and our staff completely with the understanding of the exact question that you're asking right now. And I can tell you this, I'm going to do everything I can to move it out of the capital fund. That motion will come first at the county commission. With your help, going to each and every county commissioners, we will get the 4 votes that we need.
So to clarify the motion, because one came after the other, short of your comment now.
Yeah, but the first one
request-
was withdrawn, Mr. Chair.
No, he's talking about my
I was talking
motion.
about the sequencing his motions. Let me clarify. It takes a 4 to 5 vote of the county commission to change the allocation of how each dollar of TDT is allocated. And so the motion here is to approve it out of marketing funds and then approve a change of the allocation of the TDT from capital to marketing. And the reason he's presenting it as a marketing fund grant is because he does not believe that there's 4 votes to do it. Well, if there aren't 4 votes to allocate it out of capital, and you pass it with 3-to-2 votes to allocate it out of marketing, you need 4 votes to execute on the second part of the motion, which is reallocating from capital to marketing.
Mr. Vice Chair? Can I
Yes.
just add, so in speaking with the county attorney, it's his belief that those funds could be transferred from the capital facilities without a change to the ordinance required.
Okay?
So that last part that you mentioned wouldn't be required as part of this.
So just to be clear, this is important, because taking marketing funds you know, I will, yeah. So you're saying that it would take a 3-2 vote to reallocate without changing the ordinance, and you could remove reserves from capital and put it into marketing with a
Yes, sir.
3-2
That's-
vote?
That's Morris Richardson's,
Yeah,
perspective on it.
Morris walked in the door while you were doing this, so Morris, would you come on up, please? I think,
Yeah, well, it's-
I would feel a lot better about everybody hearing it coming from your mouth.
Alex is ready on this,
No,
but,
yeah, I
so
just, go
the way-
ahead.
You're correct, Mr. Hermanson, that you would have to have a supermajority if you needed to amend the marketing plan within the ordinance. But the marketing plan already provides that capital facilities portion in the first two pennies is an up to 35% allocation, whereas marketing is an at least 25% allocation. So you can reduce capital facilities below that 35% allocation without amending the marketing plan or changing the
You're
ordinance.
using the word marketing plan. I'm talking
Or
about
the budget plan, I'm sorry, the budget plan in the ordinance.
The ordinance.
Right,
The ordinance-
62, right, chapter 102,
Right.
section 102, 119. The
Right.
budget plan that's baked in there, it describes how those pennies are allocated, and it gives at least 25% to marketing, but the capital facilities is an up to amount, so it doesn't have to be fully funded. You can move things from that particular bucket into the marketing bucket. It can't work vice versa.
Yes, sir?
Can you clarify, and it's now requires a supermajority to spend capital
No.
dollars?
No.
What's the
Well,
supermajority trigger that
oh.
requires 4 or 5 here, if they do it that way?
So for this particular project, it doesn't fall into the traditional capital facilities program, which would be things like zoological parks, as you're aware, aquariums, amphitheaters, coliseums. Rather, it falls into something that the legislature expanded the capital facilities program to include, I believe, in 2019 or 2020, which is public facilities, so things like transportation or sewer projects. Those public facilities within capital facilities have different requirements than the traditional capital facilities. One of those is a supermajority vote. Also, the study that Chair Steele requested that this TDC commission, that's a requirement of that public facilities portion of the capital facilities bucket.
That one's called the Randy Fine Amendment.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions for Morris?
So funny.
Is there any more discussion on the motion in a second?
So as I seconded the motion, I just wanted to publicly state that there've been countless meetings going on. So I do support this motion. And not only that, but the Space Coast TPO as well.
Yeah, I
Big-
apologize for not mentioning them today, because without them, we would be in big
With that
trouble.
location, yes, sir,
Correct.
and then getting that federal opportunity. So those discussions are going on, and I think it's the time of it may be constricting us, but this is the right thing to do and the right time for this community. I'm really honored and blessed that we have a potential of having a stop here. And yes, I do wish it was in the greatest city on the face of the earth, Palm Bay, but it is going to be in the greatest county in the state of Florida.
Stockton, did you have any other comments?
No,
before-
just thank you for, I think you actually cleaned up two questions that I didn't do a very good job answering, and one was the flow of funds between the buckets, and that really answers your question, and then the other with regards to why we're here today and the urgency. Again, as we plan to use the tourist development tax as a match for federal grant funds, we're actually trying to get into the cycle that, again, as the chairman said, starts in May. And so we don't want to delay that a year. We want to be in on this year's cycle. That application is due. I think we're going to turn it in the day before Laura goes on vacation. And so that'll be like May 26th. And so that's the urgency of getting here. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, any more questions? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very, very much. All right, let's move on the agenda if we can, please. Director's report.
Yes, sir. In your packet, there's a number of reports, lots of good information. I'm just going to highlight one in particular, which was on page 23. It's the TDT collections. The last collections we have are for February. They came in at 2.76 million, which was 62,500 over budget and 82,500 or 3.1% over prior year. That was pretty amazing because February of last year was like the third best month we ever had in history. So this past February is now the new third best. March, we will have in about a week and a half, based on all the STR data that we have, we believe it's going to come very close to last March. Last March was the number one month in history at 3.17 million. I'm not sure we'll get there. We're really hoping, but it's going to come really close. So I think it's going to be a significant month again. Other than that, I'm certainly open for questions, but that's all my report for now, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Committee reports, Marketing Committee.
We had a meeting earlier this month, which was really an update and setting us up for the year. I had to end early, so Wayne, anything you want to add, any actions taken at the end of the meeting, since I had to skedaddle out?
Wayne wasn't there.
You were there, I'm sorry, it was Howard.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, so Peter, sorry
Yes,
about
sir.
that.
No worries. Actually, it was, as Keith said, it was an update meeting just to get the marketing committee kind of up to speed. And in your packet, starting on page 27, is a presentation that Laura and I did to the committee. And just a couple of things I wanted to point out. We just finished a pretty comprehensive visitor study and economic impact study. And on page 28, you see the new visitor spending and economic impact numbers in the first two bullets of that page. $4.5 billion, a little over $4.5 billion in economic impact and nearly $3 billion in visitor spending. And then if you go deeper into the packet, beginning on page 31, is all the visitor tracking data that we collected. We interviewed 2,500 visitors, and got some really, really interesting information. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of pretty interesting pieces of data. First of all, 63% said they saw some kind of promotion from us, from Space Coast, before they came here, mostly in terms of website knowledge was from our website, but also from our social media and various other media that we place in the market. And then the other thing that was really interesting was where people are coming from and how they get here. 54% fly versus 46% driving. And, we had always thought that we were more of a drive-in market, but that certainly has, this data certainly shows that a majority of those people are flying here. And if you look at where they're coming from, 37% are from within the state of Florida, but 17% from the South, 12% from the Northeast, 17% from the Midwest, and even 12% from the West of the U.S., and then 5% international. So a lot of really interesting knowledge we gained from this report. And then we looked further on. We looked at the actual average length of stay, the average spending, the average size of groups. It was a length of stay of 4.5 nights, and the average party size is 3.1. And the average spend per party was almost double what it had been when last time we did this study 4 or 5 years ago. It was $2,762 compared to, I think it was about $1,500 the last time we did the study. So a lot higher spending. We're attracting, certainly affluent people who are staying longer and spending more, which has been our goal all along from a marketing perspective. And then finally, we looked at cruise and international and business. And the cruise people, 91% said they took an overnight, 28% said they took an overnight cruise. Of those people that took an overnight post-cruise. 91% stayed overnight here in the Space Coast. 27% of them staying both pre and post-cruise. So we're really doing, that's the job that I really felt was super important, was to make sure that if we're getting people to the port, we're getting them to stay here in the county, both either before or after or both, and that seems to be happening. And then from an international perspective, you know, our top markets are Canada, UK, and Germany. We've known that. We are spending money in those markets, both on marketing and sales activities. And then also business travelers represented 5%. And then finally, once we get people here, they certainly really like it here and they want to come back, 93% saying that they were likely or very likely to return. So a lot of good information here. I recommend taking a look at it. Also in this presentation was basically, we laid out most, if not all, of the creative. A lot of the digital creative is in here that we're running this year. So some of this information will now build the basis for our marketing plan for next year. So the next meeting is in May of the marketing committee, and we'll really start to delve into what questions should we really be answering in the marketing plan as we begin to develop that over the summer. So I don't know, Keith, if you had any other
No, I
thoughts?
think, I think some of the highlights, obviously, I think what we're seeing is the marketing campaign. As Tom's pointed out, the marketing dollars have been well spent and impactful.
Okay, going on to reports. Cultural Committee report.
Nothing to report, other than our next meeting of the Cultural Committee is July 18th out at the TDT office. at 2
Thank you,
o'clock.
Andrea. Appreciate it very much, Councilwoman. The next report is the Capital Facilities report.
Capital Facilities Committee met, a lot of new members. Got a chance to talk about process over many years. Policies developed on how we allocate funds via sports, cultural, and capital. Make sure it's fair and transparent. So the policy's in there and had some minor revisions, and the policy's in place. And we need an action item to approve the changes to the capital funding policy.
Please motion to approve
I
the
think that
recommendation of the
motion comes
committee.
out of committee. We'll take your, sorry, Chairman.
No, that's all right, go ahead.
Motion's out of committee, so with a second, we'll pass the revised policy.
Mayor,
Second?
don't you want to second that?
No, I'm the second.
Julie's got the second.
I'm
I
the
think
second.
Julie, okay.
Yeah, I'm
I
the
think
second.
Julia's second.
I'm missing something here.
Yeah.
I wasn't being transparent enough.
No.
But
Should we
no,
vote?
Process.
No, I
Should we
got it, I
vote?
understand.
Processes. I mean,
You know,
got-
like
Alright.
anything else, though, there are policies, there are procedures, and you always have to think outside of the box when things come. And maybe it's because I'm a United States Marine, and you always have to improvise, adapt, and overcome. But policies are good, and they are worthwhile to follow, and then there are times that you're going to have to improvise and do something for the good of the order and good of our community. So those
Slowly,
are
I
my
have
thoughts.
lost total control of this meeting. All right, now, Mr. Hermanson, didn't you say we needed the motion to approve that?
Motion came out of committee, we had a
Yes.
second, and you.
All in
should not-
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, getting me right back to business here. Beach Improvement Committee.
Well, I don't have an update right now, and based on our recommendation to County Commission to approve $500,000 for the Indian River Lagoon grants was not passed, I think we'll probably be postponing our meeting here for May 30th. I do think there's still a lot of good work, and we're really excited that, I'll say I'm excited that we're still doing the derelict boat program that got approved. But the rest of the money going into reserves is always a good thing, and we need more money to make sure we're ready for any storms. And so I think we'll go back to the committee and see what steps we will get ready for potentially next year. But
Thank you very much, Julie. Sports Committee, Wayne.
Nothing to report. Next meeting is July 10th.
Any other business to TDC members? Andrea, you got anything? No, sir. Alex? No, sir. Julie?
I do, actually. I just wanted to share with the committee, especially in the south part of the county, where we've seen a decrease in demand. This season was different than past seasons than we've seen. Still very, very good, but just very different demand generators and just overall. So now we're seeing a softening in that demand. So I just wanted to make sure we keep a focus a little bit as we go into uncharted waters with inflation at an all-time high. What we know, our leisure travelers are running low on money, making decisions differently about their travel. And so I just ask that as we move forward this year to keep in mind how much now, more than ever, we need that marketing money to represent the entire county. I know that we have all very different demand generators, but we're definitely seeing a place we haven't been to in quite a few years. So it's just a reminder, I just ask and appreciate Peter for the great marketing efforts and that we keep that focus on that because the entire county needs it. So especially the greatest city in the world and Melbourne.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
John, you're up there on the deputy director side, so you don't need to. But Alex, I did want to recognize you again today. You've been one of our attorneys that helps very, very much. And I certainly was not avoiding you, but when Morris walked in the room, I thought, well, why not give it to the guy that wrote it? So I apologize if I was disrespectful in any way.
As long as you guys got the right information.
I think we did. Wayne, you got anything for us? Mayor?
So I don't have anything to report, but I wanted to come alongside Tom, and Zamir Patel was a staple in our community, and the entire community is mourning his loss, in particular, a lot of the Indian community. And so it was appropriate for us to give him that time, that moment of silence. But even moreover, let's surround the family with love and prayer for peace and comfort. Young man taken much too soon. I can only imagine 40 years, I was just starting to live. And so it is a devastating loss. And Tom, I share and I grieve with you as well as the rest of the community. So let us, and I love what you said earlier, let us glorify God in everything we do and not take life for granted. We're here today and gone tomorrow. We just don't know. Tomorrow's never guaranteed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Keith, you got anything?
No, nothing to add.
Okay, Peter, anything more?
Just a note about next meeting. Originally, we were going to try to adjust the time to try to accommodate some schedules, but I think we decided we're going to go back to the 2 p.m. time. It's going to be here at the Government Center on May 22nd, but it'll be downstairs, one floor in the Space Coast room. So that's all I had other than.
Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Actually, it's public comment.
Oh, public comments. And I don't think there's anybody actually from the public. They're all part of our whole group. Got anything out there? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Tom, we're going to need.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.